When two friends are run over by a train, they wake up in a strange room with other people that should also be dead. The large black ball that is responsible for this sends them on a dangerous mission to kill alien invaders. There's no escape, and this leaves them with no choice but to fight for their lives. It starts like any other night in Tokyo. A young man is seated at the subway station waiting for the next train. He's preparing for a job interview while reciting his mantra. Suddenly, he spots a familiar face. It's Kato, his childhood friend from grade school. Ki doesn't approach him, rather he observes Kato from afar. He's still staring at Kato when a man falls onto the tracks from the pavement. No one tries to help the man. Kato takes the initiative and jumps onto the tracks when no one else does. He tries to assist the man who appears to be drunk. He recognizes Ki standing in the crowd and begs him to help, but Ki hesitates. It's not until the other people see the lights of the next train speeding toward Kato and the man that they pull the man out. Kato tries to pull himself up, but it's too difficult. At this point, the train is already very close and nobody is willing to take the risk of going close to the tracks. Kato begs Ki once more, and this time, he stretches his hand out to help, but Ki isn't strong enough and they both fall onto the tracks. The train runs them over. A white room is where the two wake up. They're confused because they should be dead. The other people in the room seem just as perplexed as they are. In the middle of the room is a large black sphere. They observe the sphere but can't make anything of it, and soon they realize that they're trapped in the place. Kato confronts Ki about what happened at the train station, and Ki denies blowing him off, claiming not to see him. After a while, they try to find out what the place is and where they are. They're still constructing theories to explain what's going on when the sphere sends out a laser and, like a 3D printer, materializes the body of a young woman. It seems that is how they all got into the room. Everyone in the room stares at the girl, whose name they later find out is Kishimoto, in bewilderment. Kato then takes off his jacket and uses it to cover the girl as she's wet and not wearing any clothes. Immediately after that, a muffled song plays out from the sphere. Writings appear on the vessel reading that their old lives were over and it would determine their new ones. It gives them a task to kill a strange creature called an onion alien. They observe the image of the creature projected on the sphere before it disappears, and the sphere opens up, revealing futuristic weapons and a man who's sitting inside the vessel unconscious. They also find briefcases containing special suits. Each briefcase has the name of one of the people in the room, meaning each person in the room is to have a suit. Kishimoto is the only one to put on the suit, since that's the only clothing apart from Kato's jacket that's available. As they ponder on what this all means, Suzuki, one of the men in the room, recalls that he was taken to the hospital after a car accident and injected with something before waking up in the room. That's when they realize that every one of them had been in an accident or something that should have killed them before finding themselves in the room. The man concludes that they're being hypnotized and that they aren't dead. Suddenly, they all seem to be erased from the room by the sphere the same way they got in. As they disappear, a timer appears on the sphere counting down from 20 minutes. They appear in a street in Tama, Tokyo. As they stand in the street, confused and scared, Nishi, one of the young men in the room that had been quiet ever since, tells them that they're on a TV show and that they have been hypnotized. He tells them his father is the producer of the show and that the prize money of $100,000 would be given to whoever completes the missions. Not far away, they spot the target, the onion alien, and Nishi tells them that whoever kills it first would win the challenge. Without any haste, 4 of the men go after the alien, leaving Kato, Ki, and Kishimoto behind. They chase the target tirelessly around the neighborhood until they finally corner it. The alien begs them not to kill it and oddly offers them an onion. The guns they found don't contain bullets, but rather make the target explode. The first man aims at the alien's arm and it explodes. The alien then strikes them with its claws, and in rage, they simultaneously shoot it till it explodes. As soon as they kill it, another bigger onion alien that appears to be the father kills the men. Kato, who is just outside the murder scene, shivers in fear as the larger alien comes toward him. It's about to get him when Kishimoto comes to his aid. The suit grants her superhuman abilities and she tries to fight off the alien, but it's too strong for her. Ki tries to hide, but the alien finds him. He realizes the suit could help him defeat it. He gets the briefcase, but it's empty. He uses the briefcase to attack the alien, but before the pissed off monster can rip him apart, Nishi traps it and offers to give Ki the points if he kills it. Ki can't get himself to pull the trigger, and a disappointed Nishi kills it himself. A few moments later, they find themselves back in the room. The time on the sphere is up, implying that the challenge is over. They all appear unscathed. Even Suzuki, who they thought had died, reappeared without a scratch or drop of blood on his clothes. The sphere then displays scores of the people in the room and those who had died. Everyone gets 0, followed by odd remarks except Nishi, who gets 5 points. Nishi groans in disappointment, expecting a higher score, and the rest realize that he knows something they don't. Nishi tells them that Gantz is the one in the sphere overseeing the contest, that they are sent to kill aliens invading Earth and get points for successful missions. Kato and Ki confront Nishi for knowing about it and not warning them. They're still questioning him when once again they all disappear from the room. Ki wakes up in his room and it appears it was all just a dream. He goes to the train station to confirm and he sees a poster stating that 2 men were hit by a train but no bodies were found. He then goes for the job interview but doesn't get it. Later, he who's a college student goes about his normal day and comes across a girl, Tae, in his class who defends him when other classmates mock him for not getting a job offer. She seems to have a crush on him, but Ki is not interested. She says something that reminds him of Kato, and so he goes back to his parents' house to search for his old yearbook where he hopes to find Kato's home address. Immediately he finds the address, he leaves the house and goes to the place, but it's deserted, and it's obvious that Kato no longer lives there. As night falls, he decides to go to the Tama neighborhood where they had been the previous night to search for anything to make sense of it all. To his surprise, Kishimoto approaches him and remembers everything from the night before. She even has the suit and Kato's jacket, saying she woke up wearing them. They realize it's not a dream, but don't go to the police because they feel they won't believe them. Kishimoto asks Ki if she can spend the night at his place and he agrees. He seems to have developed some kind of feelings for her since he saw her in the room. Back in Ki's room, she confesses that she had committed suicide in frustration when her boyfriend broke up with her and that she didn't want to go back there. She admits she wants to see Kato again and return his jacket. Ki doesn't seem too interested in the discussion. Suddenly, a planner falls out of the jacket and they check inside for an address. They find out that Kato had been on probation as he recently got out of juvie. The news gets them both sad and they turn off the lights to go to sleep. Meanwhile, Kato was having nightmares of what had happened that night. He goes to the bathroom to wash his face. His little brother Ayamu asks him about it and he just wades it off. He tells his brother to go back to bed. Kato's standing in front of a mirror when he sees himself being erased and he already knows what's going on. Once again, they're back in the room, this time with an old woman with her little grandson and granddaughter. The sphere plays the muffled song again, indicating the beginning of a new challenge. This time they face a Tanaka alien that carries around a boombox. Nishi explains that they have to kill the alien and that he isn't going to protect anyone. Kato, Ki, and Kishimoto quickly suit up as they are about to be transported to the next battlefield. This time the clock is set to 15 minutes. The alien that appears to be in a plastic robot attacks and kills the old woman and her grandson after blasting them from its mouth. Ki shoots at the alien and destroys its boombox. It gets annoyed and attacks them even more, blasting Nishi into an underground car park, striking him multiple times till Kato goes to his rescue. He seems to have defeated the alien robot. Ki tries to help Nishi, but it's of no use. Nishi is almost dead and covered in blood. With his last breaths, he tells them to get 100 points and bring him back to life. The alien robot rises again and attacks them. Ki stands up to it and they duel in the underground car park. The suit absorbs the hits and he uses the energy to attack the robot. They finish off the fight in a car where Ki kills the alien in an explosion. Ki is badly injured and might not make it as the park was about to explode as a result of all the fire and fuel around him. Gantz takes the other players back to the room and waits to see if Ki would die before the countdown is over. Luckily, he lives long enough to be brought back to the room. A bell rings and Gantz brings up the scores. Everyone else gets 0 except Ki, who now has 7 and needs 93 more points. Curious as to what all the points mean, they ask Gantz what happens when one gets 100 points, and the sphere brings up the 100-point menu with 2 options. The first option of erasing one's memory and being set free, and the second option of bringing back someone who had died in the game. This piece of information awakens something in Ki, a new sense of determination and drive to survive. Ki wakes up once again in his room, but this time he's wearing the suit. At this point, it's clear that it's not a dream. Fascinated by the suit, he takes it out and performs daring stunts. He finally feels strong and not the timid young man he normally is. He's even about to jump from a tall building when he's interrupted by a phone call. It's Ta, the girl from his class. She asks if he reads manga and if he'd read the one she's writing. He agrees to read it. The manga is a hero-based story that's inspired by him, a young boy that's chosen to be a superhero. Ki is flattered and impressed as it relates a lot to his life when he was young. He then casually talks about saving little children from bullies when he was younger. He concludes that truly a hero never stops fighting bad people and that he has to protect those who aren't strong enough. That's his role to fulfill. Back at Kato's house, Kishimoto is waiting there for him. She's come to return his jacket and take the opportunity to see him. Kato and Kishimoto go to a bridge to talk about what's happening in their lives. They wonder if they are even still alive or already dead. She confesses to him how much she wanted to die until she met him. She says she wants to live and that it's because of Kato, that he saved her. As they both get expressive, Kato also confesses why he was in a juvenile detention center and never went to high school. Kato had murdered his abusive father. His father was a drunk who would hurt him and his little brother every day. He tells her how much he can't lose his brother again after being separated from him. Later on the news, they see reports of a car park explosion. In the same car park, they fought the robot the night before. The police seem not to know the cause of the fire. At dinner, Ayamu asks him what's been going on with him, but he tells him he's been having bad dreams where many people die but he can't save them. Ayamu tells him that he too has been having dreams that Kato goes somewhere and doesn't come back. This disturbs Kato, but he reassures his little brother that he's not going anywhere and that he's right here for him. Night falls and all active players know what is to come. He is already suited up and repeating his mantra of how he has a role to fulfill and how he has to be strong. Sure enough, Gantz summons them once more, along with new players. This time there's even a priest. The next opponent is a statue that comes to life. They try to convince the new players to wear the suits quickly, but the priest is adamant. Ki offers to protect them all and defeat the enemy alone, but Kato seems to just want to go home. Shortly, the players appear in front of a building. Everyone is suited up except the priest. They notice two large statues that look just like the picture that appeared on the sphere. One of the new players shoots one statue and it explodes. Immediately, the second one comes to life and attacks them. Some of them run into the building. It appears to be a museum. The priest runs into a room full of artifacts and a Buddha statue with many hands. He hides in the room, but the Buddha statue kills him. Meanwhile, outside the building, Ki and the others face the large monster. Ki, as a result of his newly rediscovered hero complex, tries to fight the statue alone. He tells Kato to get everyone inside and decides to kill the giant statue himself, and he does it with a heroic display of skill and agility. Kato confronts Ki about his behavior, and Ki reiterates that he should have just run. He tells Kato that he should just hide with the others next time and that he'll handle all the enemies. They wonder why they aren't back in the room, seeing that the enemy is dead. Unfortunately for them, Gantz had put 2 enemies in one night this time, and the timer had started again, this time counting down from 20 minutes, not 15. One of the players that ran into the museum limps out before she falls to the ground and dies. The Buddha statue had stabbed her multiple times with its many swords. Ki and the others go into the building to find the next opponent and find the dismembered priest on the floor. Of course, the statue comes looking for them as well and finds them. Ki takes on the statue first. He underestimates it, and it jabs him many times so quickly till Kato comes to pull him out of the enemy's reach. Ki asks Kato to let him go back to face the monster. He says he's fine even though he's sitting in a pool of his blood. Kato tells him he hasn't changed. He admits to Ki how much he admired him in grade school, that everyone thought he was the coolest kid in school. Kato then goes back to face the monster. Breathing heavily, he takes his gun and looks for the statue. The statue once again ambushes him. It tells him that it attacked first and killed its friends when they blew up the first statue and that it wants revenge. Kishimoto tries to save him, but she too is subdued. Kato loses his gun and decides to take the statue on in a sword fight. He takes out the sword from the suit and tries to attack, but the statue is too fast and he gets struck many times. Kishimoto tries one last time to save him before the monster stabs her in the back as well. She's impaled in several places. Kato catches her as she's about to fall and holds her in his arms. She reminds him to stay alive so he can go back to his brother. She reaches out to kiss him but doesn't hold on long enough for that. She dies in Kato's arms. Kato takes the sword and musters all the energy left in him to avenge Kishimoto. He tries his best, but he again is brutally injured by the statue. Ki crawls toward Kato lying almost dead. The statue vows to destroy all of them. He grabs the sword, and in what appears to be the last duel, he faces the monster one last time. His suit begins to absorb all the hits and blows, and it grows bigger and stronger. Ki gives the statue a hard time using all the skills at his disposal. He spots the missing gun and goes for it. He blasts the statue, but it uses its many swords as a shield and they explode instead. The statue then throws a smaller statue down, and it instantly rises, growing over 100 times its initial height. It grows so big that it destroys the roof of the museum. Kei runs on the roof as it breaks away. The gigantic statue keeps attacking him. Kato, who's lying somewhere in the rubble, throws the gun to Ki, who uses it to blast off the arm of the statue. He stays determined to kill the monster, and when he jumps into the air, it swallows him. As expected, he shoots the monster so many times from the inside till it explodes. Kate returns to Kato, who's in the wreckage of the destruction. Kato tells him he always believed in him and that he could defeat it. Key thanks Kato for helping him accomplish it. Time's running out for Kato, and Key begs Gantz to bring them back before Kato dies. He urges Kato to hold on a little more, but it's too late. Kato doesn't make it. They're back in the room and only 3 players survived: Key, Suzuki, and one of the new players. The bell rings again and the scoring begins. He now has a total of 20 points and now needs 80 more. He asks Gantz to show him who died, and he breaks down in tears when the sphere displays Kato and Kishimoto's pictures. He begs Nats to bring him back, but all that pops up is the 100-point menu. He weeps even more when he realizes how much he has to fight to save his friends. The next day he goes to class and Tay approaches him. She updates him on her manga, but he's not interested. She follows him to the train station nonetheless. At the station, a little boy's hat falls onto the tracks and he cries to his mother to get it for him, but she says it's too risky and the little boy keeps crying. Key jumps down to the tracks and gets the hat, gives it to the mother, and then just stands there. Tay screams his name, but he doesn't flinch. The train is just a few seconds from crushing him when she stretches out her hand with teary eyes. He grabs it and she pulls him up. She confesses that she loves him and begs him not to die. He goes to see Kato's little brother and see how he's doing. The sun sets, and once again they're summoned for the next challenge. He chooses to fulfill his role and use his strengths to the fullest. He urges the other players to believe in him and not give up. He tells them it's not over and that they can still live and even bring someone back to life. They promise to follow him and they all resolve to fight till they get their 100 points. The muffled song plays once more and Key braces up for the next battle in a long line of many more to come.